It's very important to prepare students by reviewing the candidate information bulletins that are available in this module. In fact, I'd consider it essential. It's true that both live candidates and also remote candidates should review these materials, and we even strongly encourage exam sites to make time to go over this specifically with their candidates. Candidates who have a better understanding of the logistics of the testing event that they're going to experience will be more relaxed and more confident on the day of the test. Also, along the same topic of being properly prepared, candidates who are testing through the remote testing option should take the HonorLock enabled practice exam quiz. So as we mentioned, it'll ensure candidates have access to the HonorLock enabled exams, and they'll be able to confirm that their computers meet the HonorLock requirements. But it will also familiarize the candidates with the scratch paper instructions that they see whenever they log into the remote test, and it ensures that they can see all the images and file types from home.
This year, we have added a learning objective confidence activity to the practice exam. We took the categories and a list of topics that are covered on the base and created an interactive activity around them. Just a quick disclaimer, the list of objectives and topics is found in the base administration documents. We just simply use them to create an interactive tool for instructors and candidates. So in each category here, candidates can rate their ability to demonstrate each objective. You could use this activity in conjunction with a pre-assessment. That way you can directly ask your candidates how confident they feel in each objective prior to moving forward with your curriculum. You could use this as a lesson check-in or an end of the week check-in. So for example, maybe you're going over objectives that are in the biological systems. You could have them go in, rate how confident they feel about each objective, and then use that feedback to potentially adjust your lesson planning for the upcoming weeks. You could use this as a way to check in with prior knowledge. So I know there are some courses out there that hope that some of the chemistry content has been taught prior to coming in to their class, and you could have the students go in, rate how confident they feel on those objectives, and then maybe figure out how much you might want to review before the base. The results of the activity could assist you in pairing students together or grouping students together. You could put a stronger candidate or a candidate who feels very strong in maybe some content area with a candidate who might not feel as strong with that content area. Note, you have the ability to turn on and off the modules. So if you want to check in 3 months later to see how they feel about content they learned 3 months ago, you can also do that. And so you can kind of turn that on and off depending on where you think you're at and what you want to learn from your students and how confident they feel about the objectives.
The practice exam modules are basically broken into 3 parts, right? There are 2 forms of the exam, a version A and a version B. Similar to the learning confidence activity, these are all broken down into individual quizzes based on each of the 9 categories that the base contains. Between both version A and B of the exam, there are over 230 questions that cover all 9 of the exam categories. So we really consider this to be a comprehensive, well-aligned resource with what the students are going to see on the exam. If you've been with us for a while, you'll probably know that one of the areas that students tend to struggle in the most is the applied mathematics section. And so we have an additional practice module for the applied mathematics. It was a smaller module last year. We've increased it. So last year it was about 10 questions, and this year there's 36 questions in that module. This covers topics such as dilutions and dilution factors, serial dilutions, conversions, significant figures, scientific notation, all of that applied math that the students need to know for the exam. All of these items are representative of what the students are going to see on the actual exam. And then also taking the practice exam within the Canvas shell also helps give them a representation of the exam environment. It'll hopefully help them feel more comfortable, and they'll be more relaxed when they're testing because they're already familiar with the environment. The students can take each of the practice exams multiple times and can review their performance once they have submitted the answers. So at the end, all the way at the end. And then not only are they able to review their answers, tips are also provided to help counter common errors. So if there's a typical mistake that a student might make when performing a particular math problem, let's focus on that for a moment. The student will actually see, well, did you do it this way? Maybe you meant to actually do this. And so it'll kind of help alleviate some of that confusion that comes with that difficult math content. We also have the additional study resources module. This contains our CGMP review, so our current good manufacturing practices overview. This covers content including the Code of Federal Regulations and the agencies to which it applies, fundamentals of current good manufacturing practices, the structure of a typical biotech company, the departments and the personnel and how they communicate with each other working in that regulated environment, as well as good documentation practices and the documents that you might typically encounter working in that environment. There's also a series of external study resources. So these are links to other content. It might be a content review, links to tutorials, different labs and activities, or even lesson plans for instructors. I'm going to go over all of this in just a moment, but I do want to mention that the complete breakdown of these resources is available in the base study materials and resource guide. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment as well. The CGMP overview, again, is a review of good manufacturing practices and all of that content that is related to working in a regulated environment. So here on this screen, you'll see a couple of screenshots of what some of that content looks like, an overview of the CGMPs, an overview of the Code of Federal Regulations and how to read the citations for each of those, an example of the types of documents that you might come across when working in a regulated environment, just all excellent information to know and going to be very useful for the students, not just for the exam, but as they move forward in their careers. As I mentioned, all of the resources are broken down in the resource guide. So this is a screenshot of what that resource guide looks like. You can see in the left-hand column the title of each resource. All of them are linked with the exception of the CGMP review, which of course is only contained within the practice exam shell. But a description is provided for each one, and then it kind of gives you, on the right-hand side of the table, a little bit better of an idea of the type of resource that is. So for example, in the second row, you'll see the Bio-Rad Life Science tutorial videos. So this is an excellent series of practical applications, lab applications, things you might do like running a gel electrophoresis, streaking a bacterial plate, all these typical types of lab tasks, all provided in a great video series. And I won't go over all of these, but there's a whole array of resources, not just videos, also content from excellent resources like the Khan Academy. PBS has a wonderful biotechnology collection, as well as a series on genetics and heredity. Learn Genetics from the University of Utah has an excellent series of virtual labs that allow the students to interactively click through things like a gel electrophoresis or a microarray. So I really, really encourage you to use these resources to your benefit and your students' benefit as well. So the last module that's contained in the practice exam is called Stepping into the Biotech Workforce. Again, this module did exist last year, but it has grown, and in size, there's a lot more here. So this module takes the candidate through creating a professional account on a platform such as LinkedIn, which will allow them to network with representatives and other candidates who are looking to move forward in the biotech workforce. It also provides tips on maintaining a professional social media presence, be that on LinkedIn or any of the other platforms that are available. There's a series of networking exercises, even prompts on how to begin conversation with, for example, recruiters that you might find on a platform such as LinkedIn. The resources for interviews. There's a video series. There's a document on tips and tricks of things to do and not do during an interview. There's an excellent resource from the UF Career Connections Center. And so this covers things like what is a CV, the things to include on it, what's the difference between a resume and a CV, and the things that you might include on both of those, and personal statements and kind of all of those documents that a candidate might encounter when they're, on the hunt for a job.
So this year we've added an interview challenge activity. The purpose of this activity is to give candidates an opportunity to practice their interview skills and answer potential biotech interview questions. It includes a few things. It includes a instructor resource guide, a rubric for you to use in the classroom with your students, and students will be able to upload their interview in a video format for instructor review. Just as a side note, in order to be able to do the interview challenge, we kind of pair it with the interview resources. So it is helpful for them to go through those first and then complete the interview challenge.